right, thank you very much for staying with us. That particular game that I was telling you about, Everton versus Manchester United, 4 minutes in. Anytime we play against Everton, it's always a draw. What do you think what are your predictions for this particular game? Talk to us on our social media platforms at Stanley Nyaringita, my personal handle, Stanley Nyaringita on Facebook, at KUTV Kenya on Facebook, at KUTV_Kenya on Twitter. Right now, though, from Matters Football, let's focus on something else. Now, the game of roll ball, which is commonly played in, which is a major game, and technically it is handball, but then with skates. So, Fantas Gadara had an opportunity to talk to Sir Rohit Haldania, who is the Secretary General of England, on matters, roll ball in the world and also in Kenya. Take a look.
And this time in a totally different attire, as you can be able to see. Tell us something about the jersey and the roller skates. What kind of sport is this, Mr. Rohi?
This is the sport of the future. It's called roll ball. It's played with a ball. You wear skates and that's how you roll, and then you play on the court, and that's where it gets decided.
So can you give us a brief history of this sport? What essentially is roll ball and where did it begin?
Okay, so roll ball is a game invented by Mr. Raju Dabade. Mr. Raju Dabade used to be a PE teacher, and he saw the skates, was doing a skating session, and then a basketball came rolling along, and he just naturally saw the combination and just how natural the player picked up the ball and just passed it, and he decided to develop it from there. So it began in India, up in a place called Pune, and now the game's played worldwide. It's played in over 50 countries, and it's grown to all different corners of the world.
So in regard to roll ball, do you play any particular role, or essentially what are you in as far as the sport is concerned?
I began as an administrator. I instantly fell in love with the sport and I began to be a player, started Team England, and that began with 2 close friends, Ali.
So in regard to roll ball, what is your role in as far as the discipline is concerned?
So within roll ball, I began as an administrator for Roll Ball England. I then fell in love with the sport and began to be a player. And it began with 2 friends, Ali and Adi, and without them, this entire journey within Roll Ball England wouldn't have been possible. So shout out Ali and Adi and the rest of the Bruce Lee men's team.
Bearing in mind it's your first time in Kenya, are you here to popularize the sport, or what exactly is the purpose of your visit?
Kenya's a place where I don't need to popularize. I'm here to learn. See, Kenya, you might know this, you might not. Kenyatta University, you definitely should. The women's, you lot are world champions. Kenya are world champions in the women's domain and finalists for the men's category. So it became a very natural place for me to come and learn as one of the hubs, the major hubs for roll ball in the world. And, shout out some of the coaches you've had, including Mr. Coach Jared and Coach Jacob, who have definitely helped within supporting the sport's growth on the international front. They've written the first coaching guides, from what I'm aware of, held an array of webinars for the community during lockdown. So hold tight, Kenya, within the roll ball scene, it's one of the big hubs, a place to come and learn.
So what is the roll ball scene like internationally, not just in Kenya?
There's over 50 countries playing roll ball right now. It's played in all different corners of the world. I would say it's probably one of the fastest growing sports in the world. Why? Because it's exciting. I mean, look at that, just right there. The passing, the speed of the ball, the goals. It speaks for itself, and people, or the audience, are seeing this game, witnessing this game. They're fascinated by it, and they're getting involved, and it's growing rapidly.
So in as far as roll ball is concerned in the Kenyan scene, or rather locally, do you see it as a sport that has the potential to grow and match the other sports such as soccer, basketball or rugby, which are quite popular within the country?
Without a doubt, roll ball is definitely challenging the status quo. It's a very unique sport, and as people are moving away from traditional sports, wishing to try something new, wishing to try something that's inclusive, roll ball is that sport. You can be of all different abilities and prosper within this sport. And I definitely see it as a top contender. I think as the league progresses and we start to see the sport more on TV, you'll start to see it spread. And within Kenya, there's plenty of scope for it to grow. It's still in its very early stages, but with a team that's doing so well, with a grassroots operation that is reaching all different corners, catering for lower socioeconomic groups from a range of diverse candidates, I see it growing and to new extents in Kenya.
And what do you feel that can be done to probably improve the sport or to make it a contender in the top platforms in as far as sports is concerned?
I think the rollball community is very much working towards that very goal. We're trialing that conversation. We've been representing at the General Assembly of International Sport Federations, which have held events in Australia, in Lausanne, in Denmark. So they are doing all the right things that it takes of an international sporting federation, and shout out International Rollball Federation for providing opportunities to people from all across the world. It's definitely a sport to watch on your radar.
Having been a rollball player at some point, are you still are, by the way?
You know, whenever you put your skates on, you feel happy, you feel that joy, and I can tell you there's very few things that can compete with the state of flow that you go into when you wear your skates. And it's only natural to want to pick up a ball very quickly soon after that. Being a rollball player, I learned to skate as I was learning rollball. And that meant that we were focusing on the teamwork, the other components of the sport, whilst we're getting a skill that a lot of people tend to think is difficult. But I'd say 20 hours is all it's take, as we say in Rollball England.
Actually, back to my question. Having been a rollball player, what is the experience you can be able to share? Or do you have something that you can be able to tell us you achieved during your time as a player?
I think my personal accolades are more within the administration of the sports. Though I've been a player, I think I've been able to organise the first Team England, a men's and a women's team. We then have also hosted the French team. We've beaten them. We beat them in Pune at the World Cup. So I think it's holding our local rivalries within Europe, helping continue the growth that is happening in Asia, in Africa, helping that develop in Europe, I think is great. And it's been a massive learning opportunity for me myself. Being a young leader, it was 2015 when I first got involved. And the number of opportunities that I've had via rollball have been insane. It's really developed me as a person, and I think given me some of the work experience that I have had today.
Did you ever see yourself being a rollball administrator at any point?
Yeah, right from the start. Like I said, I began as an administrator, and I think that's just a way to give back to the rollball family. You know, we get to play the sport, and I think it's only right that we as players move on as coaches or administrators so that we can facilitate that for the next generation, and that's what we want to do. We want to soon bring a UK team to Kenya for just a cross-cultural expression. It's a way where people make friends. It's a family, like I say. I keep referring to it as the rollball family because that's what it feels like.
Finally, looking at the camera, what are some of the words of advice you can be able to give to any rollball enthusiasts or any upcoming players who are hoping to attain the levels that you have been able to attain?
Within rollball, I would say, first, pass it forward. It's such a fun sport, and it's such a fun sport to also bring others into this growing community with. I think, secondly, you just need to get involved with the rollball community, message people. They're on all forms of social media, so it's a growing network. And I think the more we see cross-collaboration across the different countries, it can then start to grow. And I think the final thing is that rollball's a very exciting product ultimately. On the TV screen, if they were showing a rollball fixture, you're gonna be glued to your seat. And I think being proud of that fact, organising more international fixtures, international series, and just showcasing the sport is the first thing we can do. So shout out KUTV for giving this platform to rollball today.
Thanks so much, Rohi.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna go play some rollball now.